but I'm delighted to be here. I think it's going to be a really interesting discussion. We've got 3 panelists with quite different viewpoints, vantage points, so they're going to bring a different perspective on what's happening in terms of the mega trends in crypto. Based on our pre-conference discussions or pre-panel discussions, I'd actually like to rename the panel as what will crypto eat next? So I think that's what we're going to be talking about. So first off, Jihan, love to hear your thoughts on what are the biggest mega trends that you're seeing in the next year or two?
Yeah, I think in next coming few years, we will be more and more clear that the blockchain will become a new financial fundamental technology that to transform the financial network, and it will provide a high efficiency, low cost, and easier to do innovations on all those financial markets. More and more real-world collected assets will be reflected and traded on the blockchain. And we will see much more higher efficiency financial service institutions will come up. Not so about TradeFi giants will start to absorb or acquire crypto firms into their companies and to gain access to the blockchain financial network. So we, because of the innovations in the blockchain financial world is much more easier, faster than the TradeFi world. We will see a huge impact that crypto starts to bring to the real world. Right now, it's I think for the past decades, the success of blockchain or crypto is mainly on the native assets of the crypto world, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and other new crypto assets that basically come from the crypto itself. But right now we have seen the stable token, the linked or pegged to the US dollar. It's become a very significant phenomenon. First we see USDT and USDC, and right now we are also starting seeing other very this algorithm-based stable token like UST. And this is just fiat currencies, and soon I think we will see other asset classes like real estate, commodity, stock, debt, or more innovative financial instruments started being created in the crypto world.
So we're seeing the big financial institutions moving into the crypto space. I was saying it's going to be about what will crypto eat next. It sounds like it's actually the TradFi is going to be eating crypto. Is that a fair description? Because you said they're going to be taking over some of the crypto companies, absorbing their kind of IP and their kind of intelligence in a way into this kind of traditional financial structure. Like, is that seems kind of unhealthy from the crypto point of view?
Not necessarily, because I think first there's still lots of crypto-related firm will become very big, and I think lots of TradeFi old giants will become dinosaurs. They will goes away. Anyway, I think the technology or the framework people starting doing those things will be changed a lot.
Yeah.
But you just don't stop those old giants to innovate themselves. But there are still like 𝗍𝗲𝗀𝗲like firms that they will not fast enough following up the trend.
Yeah, there's a lot of catching up going on. Raymond, what do you think is the big trend that we're going to see?
Yeah, actually, I talked to Su 30 days ago, because so from my mind, I think the crypto is eating the world, and the people always say when the crypto becomes the mainstream. For us, crypto is the mainstream, right? Crypto is the mainstream. But for the I think the weirdest thing is a lot of people, because we talk to people in Silicon Valley, we talk to people in New York, which was the most smart people, in the traditional finance. They just told us, we like Web3, but we still have some doubt about cryptocurrency. How can it be? I mean, it sounds like you like internet, but you don't like smartphone. Because why? Because it's too smart, right? Because it's too convenient. And crypto is too convenient for them. So I guess that's the reason, sometimes. But we also see a clear trend. There's a migration from the traditional world to migrate to the crypto world. And I always told my team, if we believe the crypto is eating the world, so what we are betting on, we bet on the next byte. Who will be the next byte? Finance, obviously, we talk about, before crypto, we talk about the switch cost, right? You switch from the old framework to a new technology, then there will be some switch cost. But in open finance, in crypto, we talk about switch benefit. Switch benefit. You need to move earlier. Even the biggest bank, you see JP Morgan, they did they buy the NFT, Goldman Sachs, they did everything. So it's just I think for the traditional investors, traditional firms, they don't want to be the first one, but they don't want to be the last one, to be honest. So that's why, we see the clear trend. For me, I think that the next big trend is all the people, we are in a process of migration. And actually, it started like 2 decades ago, several decades ago. When we, use the internet, we are doing this. It's not like Elon Musk want to move people to Mars, but at least you need to move people from the traditional world to the digital world. And we begin from internet. It's just not done, not finished. Jobs is not done. We are still on the way as a process. But sometimes Elon Musk is, for our crypto company, crypto people, his attitude is a little bit suspicious. Sometimes he said people talk a lot about Web3. Then where is Web3? I can't find it. But it's based he cannot find it. If he find it, he want to take it private. So be careful, right? If he find it, he want to buy it. Of course, he's Elon Musk. He can say everything. Not you, and now he's take Twitter private, so he can tweet like anything he want. But we see the clear trend. So to summarize, the migration is the trend, and we believe the crypto is the mainstream.
Yeah. The migration's definitely happening. We see it all the time in the news, just the people jumping from TradFi into DeFi, and obviously the capital and the investment coming across from that side. I have to say, having read Twitter yesterday, I feel like there's a lot of people that would quite like Elon Musk to move to Mars right now. If that happened, there'd be some joy in that space. But we're going to have a whole separate discussion about Elon Musk, not at this panel. So Su, we've talked about institutions bringing money. We've talked about people flowing into crypto. What are you seeing as the biggest trend? What's the one that you get most excited about?
Yeah, I think, my conception of crypto is really, we're entering the extreme phase of digitalization, but with very different properties than we used to think when we think of digitalization, right? And I think the seed was planted in the 90s with peer-to-peer encryption. And with the advent of newer models and newer ways of doing things, we are digitalizing many things that we thought not possible before, whether it's art, whether it's the way that people interact with each other and come together to form business organizations, whether it's even how we store value and how we think about what is valuable. I think really when the internet first came out and peer-to-peer encryption was invented, people reacted against it and they wanted to say it's weapons-grade technology, right? The military said this, and I think we are entering a phase now for crypto where you are seeing a lot more regulatory we're pushing toward the edges, right, of disruption, and people are wondering, should it fit into the old paradigm or should it be given its own room to flourish? So I think we'll see a lot of regulatory battles. I think the unhosted wallet battle is a big battle. I think there's also going to be both collaboration between TradFi and crypto, but also a lot of tension in terms of who gets to own the things that will be valuable in this world. But I think a lot of these trends are also inevitable. I think thinking from the point of view of how is the internet structured, it is fundamentally decentralized. And I think thinking about the structure of societies as well, I think we've already seen the political impact of the ability for people to communicate with each other, peer-to-peer encryption, right? It's impossible now to suppress information the way that it used to be possible even 30, 40 years ago, whether it's for Russians sitting in Russia seeing what's happening around the world, or people in China as well seeing what's happening around the world. So I think crypto is part of that mega trend, and I think crypto is the sort of all the new businesses that will be built will be crypto native by nature, because these will be the things that are the most interesting and also the most compelling for builders as well as for investors.
But what about that whole sort of decentralization theme? So much of what's been talked about, what's being planned, what's being built on the crypto side is based on this concept of decentralization. But then you get something like Elon Musk buying Twitter, that is an absolute centralization. It's the reverse of that. He's taking something that was distributed and open and saying he wants to keep it open, but this is happening, talking about institutions moving in, you get the big banks moving in. They want to centralize stuff. They're attracted by the decentralization, but they want to centralize it. So Su, how do you see that playing out?
Yeah, I think that'll continue, right? There's an interesting book called Sovereign Individual, and they actually predict that private companies will trade higher than public companies in the future. And so I joke often that, taking public to private is the new taking private to public. And because some of the reasons for that are private companies, you benefit from the consolidation of power, and you're not part of the stakeholder capitalism that is a prevalent concept now, right? You're beholden to fewer forces that want to say what you can do and what you can't do. So interestingly, it's part of the same trend, which is a demand for more freedoms by whether it's business operators or whether it's users and organizations. So I think we'll see simultaneously, and it seems contradictory, but I think we'll see simultaneously both of these, where business owners are often buying out minority shareholders these days, and partially because the markets are cheap as well, and then they'll exert more control over their businesses. Simultaneously, we will also see trends where the ways we do business will be more decentralized, and the ways that people interact will be more decentralized as well. So I think those aren't really contradictory in my view. I think they stem from the same thing, which is that the old systems or the older ways of doing things are sort of being challenged by people organically now. So.
Yeah, there's some really exciting developments out there, and thinking about like the freedom of speech and the crypto enabling money to kind of flow around the world in ways that it's never done before without government control. But at the same time, you've got governments saying, well, let's create a central bank digital currency that can then be used to track every single payment. So everything that you do with money in that country is then traceable. Jihan, you're nodding. Is that enthusiastic? Are you like, this is a great idea, or yikes?
No, I think it's a really bad idea to have the central bank to create those digital currencies, and even like they use kind of enforcement to ask everyone they have to use such kind of currency in the network. So, as you say, to trace and to analyze everyone's daily consumption activities, I think that's really bad for the freedom and the privacy for each individuals. I think, fortunately, we are saying that the central bank net digital currency innovation is far falling behind the decentralized blockchain network, and I also don't see any reasons that the legal framework will not be able to accommodate the blockchain network to fit into the financial network activities in terms of payment, investment, financial transactions, or other things. So I think it's fine that a central bank, as a kind of very traditional and a very old institutions, and they adopt technology, but as long as that they don't use the enforcement, their impact to create kind of a monopoly over the financial network, I think that will be fine.
Yeah, but do you think, as we think about currency, and the adoption of Bitcoin as a currency, and obviously El Salvador's adopted it officially. There's questions over whether Central African Republic might be in the process of doing that, as other countries that are looking at it. That starts to look like a global currency to me, like a single global currency. Do we see that as a possible mega trend, that we could have a universal payment system?
I think because of people's mentality and mathematical reasons, in the end, I think there will be kind of currency that in the middle of all transactions, because it's just simpler. The liquidity is better. All currencies or assets are exchanged with this kind of a currency. Right now, basically, it's US dollar, and this currency or assets just exchange to other kinds of assets. Even though, like in Uniswap, any assets A and assets B can exchange with each other, but usually those liquidity pair are built up by a very important or widely used assets or currencies. In the usually it's such kind of mechanism. I think it's natural, but such kind of like a world currency, I think it's really means that it's kind of monopoly, because people have to use it. It's kind of we can call it like a natural monopoly because it's much more effective. But the blockchain is bringing people to be able to build their own assets, their own currency among its own communities. No matter how small the community is, they can create NFT, they can create a governance token among themselves. Even like those communities are like thousands of participants there. They will be able to create a kind of a liquidity assets or currency for themselves. I think that's important. Like a worldwide, most widely used currency, I think eventually there will be one. That's not bad for the freedom for people to associate each other.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. I mean, that sort of leads into this concept of utility. Like, one of the trends that I'm thinking about and hearing about and interested in hearing from you guys about is use cases. Like, we've got all of this technology, we've got all of these ideas, all of these amazing concepts, and it's sort of like, well, it's lovely, but what does it do? And I'm interested in hearing from you what you think the use cases will be that we're going to see. So Raymond, like, what would you think?
Yeah, I agree with Jihan. Just said actually for the next few years, what crypto need to do is bring more impacts to the real world. First is about the low friction, improved efficiency, and we can see a lot of use case in open finance, in DeFi. And the second thing is social network effect, because it's a new industry. If you need to roll up, why the NFT is so hot, why the GameFi, the metaverse is so hot, because they simply have the social network effect, and the third thing I think is about the digitalization. The digitalization, for the stock market and bond market. And even the real estate, everything. I mean, they need to find a way, to get a benefit from the new technology, and help to represent the value. Like you talk about this, the global currency, but you need to think about what's the nature of a currency. I did it. I really did it. If you do the Google and find a definition of a currency in a dictionary, you will find out currency is like actually the nature of a currency is a social contract. A social contract. That means you give up some rights when you own some property or some asset. You give up the rights, and to change another right, and that right is a buying power. Then you can trade it, and to get the buying power, basically you can buy everything. So that's the nature. That's the definition of a currency. So that's why the Bitcoin. We will say Bitcoin for now is the most successful use case, and it brings a lot of real impact. It brings a lot of real impact. So I have no concern about a global currency. Bitcoin plays some kind of role of a global currency, but there's still a lot of, it's open world, there are a lot of competition, and I mean, that's fine.
Yeah.
But at the end, if we want to, the whole industry want to achieve a sustainable development, we need to bring more impact to the real world. Just like I say, from different perspective, how to leverage, how to get a benefit from the new technology. That's the most important thing. I would not say which area, as an area aspect, every sector, no matter it's finance, it's media, it's a social network, it's the very, very traditional industry. There you can see a trend of a merge. They will merge with crypto. So for now, we talk about this traditional and this crypto. In the future, there's no traditional.
Yeah.
There's no tradition.
But how close are we to some of this technology being usable for normal people that don't want to jump through all the hoops that we all, like I'm thinking about, I got super excited recently. I was in Costa Rica. I found there was a restaurant where I could buy my dinner with Bitcoin. So I was like, went to the restaurant, had my dinner, and then spent half an hour going through this giant complicated process to actually pay for it with Bitcoin while people were coming and going, paying with their credit cards and walking away. So, that's an example of this technology is fantastic, and it's amazing that we've got this currency that you can use anywhere. But it's really complicated. Same with the GameFi stuff. The games they're nowhere near as good as like Call of Duty or Fortnite. And people are putting up with that because they want to be in this space. But how close are we to this stuff being just seamless and easy and for normal people to adopt it without having to kind of understand and get different wallets and so on?
That's why sometimes we need to roll up, sometimes we need to roll back. That's why we need a bear market. Because in the bear market, there are more builders. In a bull market, everyone is investor, speculator, everything. What you only care about is the price, right? In a bear market, then you cool down, and then you think about the long-term future. You think, I always told my people, this is wide ways. If you want something to happen, you don't need to wait. You just do it, and make it happen. Make it happen. You never get 100% prepared.
So you want a bear market? Can you make that happen?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to, make it more convenient for the crypto payment, and a lot of companies they're doing it. They're doing it, and I'm very optimistic about it will happen very soon. If you ask me how close, to the real use case, and it matters a lot for the average people, I think it's quite close. After the bear market, you will see a lot of more practical use case.
So in a way, you're saying that the fact that this is not a bear market and there's just money flooding in is actually kind of obscuring what could be created? It's actually muddying the waters in a way? Is there too much money?
No, I mean, we have an institution, because for last round, 2017, 2018, the people think, yeah, we're good, but we have all the retail investors. Now we need more institutional investors. But in this round, you'll see all the institutional investors. By the end, you find out, damn, we don't only need investors, we need more builders, more developers, and that's it. Yeah. So it's not only about money, it's about how you create a value, right? How you create a value. If you generate more real use case, there's more real transactions happen on different blockchain, and then the people will all the capital will based on the real transactions. So we need institutional investors, but that's not enough. I think that now the most important bottleneck for this industry is tier one talent. Tier one talent. And sometimes they still they get a little bit struggling because for the traditional industry, they pay them very high. So we need more entrepreneur and tier one talent, and to build more use case, and also to just be brave, do more experiment.
But so when you're talking about the mega trend of the movement of talent, the movement of people, is that wishful thinking, or is it actually you really think it's going to happen? We're going to see that talent arrive?
It's happening. It's happening.
Good.
All the people from the Facebook, Meta, or from Google, they're moving into this crypto industry.
I think the capital coming in too. I mean, it's important. It's useful for incentivizing founders to go to these, to this industry, right? And so I think also, unlike last time in 2017-18, I think institutional capital is very patient this time. They're deploying into long-term funds. They're deploying with a long-term mindset. They're learning every week. They're not as phased with the markets as kind of people might expect. I think that there's long-term commitment now to understanding what's going on and also to investing in the future. So I see, I mean, just on the grassroots side, from top graduates, founders, people dropping out of school to do businesses, I'm seeing incredible talent entering. I think that it's, in a way, it's getting harder to allocate just because all the teams are so strong and you see a lot of potential in all of them. I think valuations going higher on the seed side is shocking to a lot of people because we're now in the point now where human capital is demanding sort of 9-figure seed rounds or Series A's, and while this is scary to people, I actually think it's not overvalued because I think as we enter this kind of a world, I think human capital is extremely important. And I think there'll be extreme Pareto inequality of outcomes. I think we've already seen this in the past cycle as well, where there are multiple 1,000x's, right? So if you have 1,000, it's hard for people to reason about big numbers like that. If you have 1,000x, you can have 300 failures, right? So the human mind sees 300 failures, and then they don't understand that it's kind of, we are in this wave of extreme disruption, right?
Yeah.
I think on your question about global currency too, I think it's important to remember that crypto is voluntary, right? It's an opt-in system. So it's there for people to use and to see benefit as they see fit. So if you're in a situation where you don't need to use crypto, it doesn't benefit your life, you may not want to use it. But what we are seeing is that places where it is useful, and where people do, for instance, they're unbanked or hard for them to get banked, it's tremendously useful. I mean, I was just in Dubai and I'm seeing tremendous usage of USDT, of crypto for paying for things, paying for rent, buying houses, and this is because the banking system, they can't transfer the money from where they were to there. Revolut, and they froze Ukrainian people's money, right? Because they wanted to figure out what was going on. So I think that my view on crypto is that there will be no global currency. I think even the idea of a global currency comes from the old school way of thinking, which is that we had the dollar, and then we don't have the dollar, now we have something else. That's not how this works, right? There was the old debate among the libertarians, right? Rothbard and Mises, and Mises argued that we would have, in the presence of private monies, we will have many private monies, hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands, and people will voluntarily choose the ones they like based on the properties of those coins. And that's exactly what we're seeing today, right? So contrary to the Bitcoin maximalist thesis of the world, which is that we converge to Bitcoin only and everything else is a scam, we are seeing a proliferation of people naturally storing value in the things they like. Even something like Bored Apes, right? They generally store value in these things and they value them, not because anyone told them to, but because they do so voluntarily. So I think that's important to understand as these things continue, because there are those that say, well, in a crypto-dominated world, things are bad or things are this. At the end of the day, it's people's free expression, right? And I think what we are also seeing is that the modes of expression are changing, right? The mode of expression in the past was predominantly political, and the libertarians argued that the economic mode of expression is superior to the political mode of expression. And what we mean by that is that people can do the things they want to do. So if they don't like the way the banking system works, they build it in DeFi, right? If they don't like how something works, they do something else. And I think this is actually the structure of sort of all major mega political revolutions, right? Whether it's printing press, whether it's the sort of rise of different types of feudalism and farming. I think it's not something where we sit around in a room and we say, is this good or is this bad? I think it's peer-to-peer encryption has opened up this Pandora's box of the fact that we can now in fact do commerce, we can in fact cooperate and do things without needing the things that we used to need in the previous 500-year epoch. So I think from that point of view, I think the future will get very weird. I think a lot of people are looking at the things that today and saying this may be overvalued, that may be overvalued, this may be this may not work, this may not work. If I just step back to 2 years ago, when we did the Axie seed, no one thought pay to earn was a thing, right? No one thought that you would play games like this and do that. So I think people always massively overestimate their ability to predict the future, despite having no record of doing so, right? This kind of this like natural, like human linear thinking, right? Where we're entering an exponential age of things, right? Like someone can have an idea, and within 6 months it can be the most dominant idea in the world. I mean, apes came out a year ago, right? I mean, Step-in is an example, the move to earn, the team came together 6 months ago. So I think this acceleration is only going to continue. I think, believing we can predict exact things of the future is going to look more and more silly. While I think understanding these kind of megatrends and understanding the forces that are causing these megatrends as well is very powerful. And I think on that point also, I think globalization is obviously something where we are deglobalizing now in many ways, right? Whether it's supply chain, whether it's mass culture. But I do think crypto is kind of it is a powerful force for globalization. And I think it's a naturalist form in the sense that it's not command culture, right? No one is commanding you to do things that you don't want to do, right? And so young people are sort of coming to it and doing what they want to do, finding the communities that they like, and this, I think, is a sea change in the way that people think about commerce and think about how they'll do things. So we like investing in teams that are very weird, doing stuff that are kind of outside the box and sort of they haven't been thought of before. And so it's almost like the more weird the idea is, the more we like to invest in it. And I think and that's how we try to be ahead of the curve as well, right? Because I think, like you said, institutions they like to try to centralize. They see like, okay, how do I capture rent in this model? How do I do this? And so there's a lot of interest in equity of companies, but still, they're like, I don't know how to hold tokens. I don't know if I can vote. I don't know if I can do things. And my thought on that is that maybe they shouldn't be investing in these. Maybe they should keep letting the kids invest in these, and then the LPs have to suffer worse returns, but that's fine. There's no need for them to be the ones to be involved, right? At the end of the day, it's still an individual system. I don't believe governments will push crypto and make, if we needed government approval for crypto to be a thing, there would be no crypto today, right? In fact, it's a government accommodationism of the emergent trend of crypto itself. So as that continues, I think it's just quite important to see that it comes from the people itself.
I think that's a really interesting point about it being an opt-in system as well. You think about, you try and compel people to use a cryptocurrency, it's probably not going to work. But then you look at countries that are in turmoil. And I used to report on emerging markets at the Wall Street Journal, and I'd look at Zimbabwe, Venezuela, Syria. That's where you're suddenly seeing massive use of cryptocurrency. People are using Bitcoin because the value of their government-issued currencies is just falling through the floor. Yeah. And the more that people adopt it voluntarily, the more it grows. And I think the same with with GameFi, with the other kind of FIs that we're talking about. If it has utility and if it is better than the other system, then it's going to grow. We were going to talk about, we've got 1 minute, 45 seconds left. I still want to know what crypto is going to eat next. I'm not quite sure what it is. Raymond, what is that next bite?
What is the next bite? Good question. So I always believe in two things. First, believe in the fundamental innovations. We will see a lot of mainnet 2.0. It's not only ETH 2.0. A lot of Layer 1 protocols, they need to upgrade. When they have more intensive competition, the new challenger, they need to upgrade their mainnet. So the mainnet 2.0, and also the second thing I believe is believe in the process. Believe in the process. Now the whole industry, they are good, but the ecosystem sometimes looks a little bit more fragile, especially in the bear market. The other people, it's not very easy for them to earn money, so they just hack. Why they can easily hack is because the infrastructure is not good. So we always talk about the ISG, the infrastructure, the signing authority, the governance. It's a long story, but make a long story short is we need to focus some more on the infrastructure. I think that's also the next trend.
Yeah, I mean, once that's in place, then crypto can eat everything, right?
Yeah.
So, it's been a fascinating discussion. I really appreciate your insights. Thank you guys for being here. And,
Thank you.